Welcome to An Idiot's Guide to Watches. I'm your host Russell, and in today's show, it's our very first State of the Collection. Let's go! Yes, so a big milestone was made last week when I reached 200 subscribers. I always said if I was to hit that goal, I would do a State of the Collection. So for all of you 229 beautiful people, today I'm going to show you my watch collection and
get your watch out.
I am in fact wearing my granddad's dad's Astral hand-wind watch. Now, I haven't been able to find anything on this brand. I know that Astral was taken over by Smiths, and we had the Smiths Astral in the 50s, but Astral without Smiths on the dial. Anyone help me out? That'd be amazing. In today's episode, I'm going to show you the watches that I have, and also I'm going to talk to you about my short-term watch goals, mid-term watch goals, and long-term goals. Starring in today's episode is my 6.5-inch wrist. What a skinny beauty. So without further ado, let's get down to business and watch my slightly obsessed collection of beautiful watches. Let's go. The F91W. This watch was first made in the late 80s, 89. Very small case, fits anyone's wrist. We got a time, we got an alarm, we got a stopwatch, we change the time. Also, we've got the iconic light. Ugh. This watch means a lot to me. It was definitely the first watch I ever had, and I can remember looking at it and having it at school thinking I was the daddy. I'm always going to have one of these in the collection, particularly when they are only £10. £10 to buy brand new. Are you joking? The CASIO calculator watch from the late 80s, early 90s again. This was another watch that I wore when I was at school. It just oozes the early 90s to me. I love wearing it. I'm proud to wear this thing. The thing about Casios, they are so affordable at this price point. This thing is only about £22, and it gives you date function, this data bank calculator that, to be honest, I don't think when I had it in its first rendition in the 90s did I ever use it, but oh, it looked cool, didn't it? Another retro watch, the A168WA. I'm pretty sure it is. If I've got it wrong, pardon me. This I never had as a kid, and I'm so gutted about it because I bought this not long ago. It was the sort of upgrade from the F91W and the silver case, plastic resin case, but very comfortable stainless steel bracelet. A huge upgrade in the light department than the F91W. Again, this oozes early 90s to me. I use this watch as well as the other three as my beta work watch. For those of you that don't know, I'm a tennis coach, so I don't particularly want something mechanical that I might jar or break or stop. These are absolutely perfect for me. Everyone's got to have a Casio in their collection. Next up, an absolute icon of a watch. This is the Arnold Schwarzenegger reissue SNJ025. It's a reissue of a watch he wore in some of my favourite movies such as Predator and Commando. This is quite a high-end digital diver. This reissue has been upgraded. It's now solar powered, as the older version was not. We have a higher water resistance because of the screw down pushers. It's very weighty. I love the weight of this thing. It is a big watch. This is probably the biggest watch that I own, but because SEIKO are so good at doing such a short lug tip to lug tip, and also that the dial is very small, it doesn't look as big as it should do, as you can see on the little wrist roll. Next up is my TAG Heuer Formula 1 quartz watch. This was before I started really getting into watches. I was very grateful as I got this as a gift from my wife. Had I known what I know now, I probably wouldn't have wanted her to spend £800 to £900 on a quartz watch. However, this is quite sentimental to me and us as a family, as this was the one I was wearing when my daughter was born. So I can't get rid of it now. It's always going to stay in the family, and I'm going to hand it down to my daughter with a fresh battery. The dimensions are fantastic. As you can see, it fits my wrist beautifully. It's not a diver. I don't know what it wants to be. Is it a diver? Is it I don't know what. Is it a racing car? It does have a screw down crown and a screw down case back, and it does have this rotating bezel, and actually the bezel is very nice. Look out for it in the next edition of Watch Bezel Wars. But yeah, the bezel is nice, but yeah, it's a funny watch. It doesn't know what it wants to do. Does it want to be a diver? Does it want to be a racer? I'm not a massive Formula 1 fan, but I do like the red text at the bottom saying Formula 1. I've always wanted to own a tag when I was young. I finally got one. I wish it was an aqua racer or some sort of automatic or movement in there. My favourite type of watches are divers. If you had seen my previous videos about the Rolex Explorer, you will know that I was a huge Bond fan in the 80s and 90s, and that Rolex Submariner was my quintessential watch. That was the one I wanted ever since Live and Let Die. I saw that film. I wanted divers. When I wanted to get seriously into this hobby, the first diver I got, and the first diver that most people get, is a SEIKO. I absolutely love SEIKO for the money you get. You get a fantastic watch. This is the SEIKO SKX 009K. It's a big cushion case. It's a beautiful case. I personally love the bezel. SEIKO short lug tip to lug tip means it wears really nicely on the wrist. Also, this was the first watch I got with a crown at 4 o'clock. I do love the coin edge crown. It's a watch I wear to work, and I absolutely love it. Having a smaller wrist, it was only a matter of time before I got the SKX 013. It's a 37, just over 37mm case. It is significantly smaller than the 09 and 007, but it is beautiful. It wears fantastically. I did a full review of this watch, my one watch collection. I think this watch does everything. There's brushed parts of the watch, there's polished parts. It's in a monochrome black and white colour scheme, means it can go with anything, any attire. And once again, I keep it on the jingly jangly bracelet most of the time. It's so comfortable for work, and I love it. Was always curious about this brand, Orient. I know they're the sister company of SEIKO. I heard a lot and read a lot and seen a lot of watch reviewers say how well the build quality of these are, and I can say, and I can vouch for it as well, the build quality on Orient watches, particularly this Orient Ray 2, is fantastic. What you get for your money is ridiculous. First of all, the watch is made superbly. The case, the bezel is stiff, there's no play on it. You've got applied indices, applied logos, you've got a date complication, you've got hacking and hand winding. You've also got an in-house automatic movement. It's spectacular. Right now, as I'm filming this, you can buy this watch for just over £100 on Creation Watches. Obviously, remember import tax, but this is a true beauty. This is James Bond on a budget. I have two micro brand watches, both from the same company, Laurier. This is the Laurier HYDRA. It's got an NH35 powering this bad boy. It's quite a thick boy. Look at that plexiglass acrylic dome. Looks like a UFO. It's a 39mm case, perfect size for my wrist. I love this vintage huge crown with no crown guards. That really gets me. I just love its vintage style and its vintage aesthetic. I love the logo, and it's just done so well. They've just done such a good job on this design. The other thing is this bracelet is just to die for. So comfortable, the tapering is magnificent. These links, just superb. It's one of my favorite divers and I wear it a lot also to work as well. I love it. Most probably my favorite diver in the collection is this Squale 1521 50 Atmos Blue Ocean. Just look at that blue. I've already done a review of this watch in my best diver under £1,000. I just think this is beautiful. The dial is simple. The case is just spectacular. Harks back to those 1950s, 60s. The bezel is, oh, the bezel. Just the tiniest of back play, but the actual action is very tactile and I absolutely love moving it. I've teamed it up with an orange rubber strap. This is my holiday watch. This is my summer watch. This is me. When I knew that you could get Cooper's watch from Interstellar, I thought, let's have it. It's a Flieger Type B style. It's got amazing applied indices that just changes with the light. I love Hamilton. This is my first Hamilton I owned. The build quality is quite sensational. It's got an awesome display case back showing the automatic movement. Now I do have small wrists and it does look big on my wrist. It emphasizes the big just because there's no bezel to it. There's hardly any bezel at all, so you're getting mostly dial, which is the style of the Flieger, isn't it? But for my taste now, I don't wear it that often, and I should do, shouldn't I? Because it's beautiful. I love the skeletonized hands. I love the date at the top, just under the 12 o'clock marker. It wasn't until recently I knew that you could get this in a 38mm case. This is a beautiful chronograph using the old SEAGULL ST19 movement I'll show in a minute. I love the gold indices. Yes, they're painted blue hands, but they still look amazing in the light. This is the upgraded sapphire crystalled version. Look at the back of that. I could stare at that forever. This is one of the main reasons I got into mechanical watches. Just look at all those levers, those wheels, the jewels. It's just all of this working to give us as a reliable time as they can. Huge Laurier fan, as you will well know if you look at some of my shows on the channel. When this came out, I had to have it. This is a Laurier Gemini. It's a chronograph using the ST19 Seagull movement, just like the previous watch. It's a significantly thinner case than the HYDRA, with a slightly smaller profile on the plexiglass dome crystal. It's just a superb watch. This fits my wrist so well at 39mm. It's the first watch I own that has a bi-directional bezel. I love the yellow tipped chrono hand, and the design, they just nail the design, don't they? Walked into a jeweler's one day and saw this thing staring at me in amongst the Omega Planet Oceans and Constellations and old Rolex date justs. It was quite strange because I had just watched an episode from the Urban Gentry TGV on Fortis, so I was pretty clued up with the watch and the brand. I tried it on in the jewelers and it just fit me perfectly. You know, we all get that put the watch on your wrist and it's like a marriage made in heaven. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but this thing on the wrist, and I just thought, I've got to have it. It didn't have the papers, it had the original box, but it is so well looked after. It looks like a brand new watch. This is actually from the mid to late 1990s. It's powered by a Valjoux 7750, 38mm case, and at the start of my watch collecting, I wasn't into busy dials. I love the bead blasted case. It's pretty scratch resistant. It's unbelievable. Fortis are well known for their aviation watches. Yes, it was a Le Mans version of this watch that went up into space, but this is my first time owning a Value 7750. I love how the rotor inside this just turns round every now and then without you moving your hand. I love the way it moves. It feels like it's a living beast. One of my favourite watches of the collection. I love those screw down pushers. Haven't had this one long. Already it is the general of my watch fleet, and I am so chuffed I've got this now. I knew the build quality of Hamilton was fantastic from owning the KHAKI Pilot, but this thing is just magnificent. Bought this used thanks to one of the followers of the show and the Instagram. He heard I was interested in getting one of these babies and said, I'm getting rid of one of mine if you want. So I said, all right. This is the older version of the new watch with its own in-house movement. This is powered by an ETA, slightly smoother sweep on it. Bead blasted case, it is huge. This is a mechanical wind, hand wind only. Look at how thin that case is. I'm getting more and more into field watches. I like the black dials anyway. I probably will get a couple more field watches in the fleet very soon. This is my latest acquisition and I absolutely love it. Look at the size of that crown. Lovely jubbly. This watch is a slight, I say slight, it is a homage to the Rolex Explorer 1016. This is the Smith's Everest. But in actual fact, a Smith's watch did go to Mount Everest with a Tenzing Norgay and Sir Edmund Hillary. So it has some historicity still with it. And it's got the Rolex traits of the 369 Explorer, numerals, Arabics, and the Mercedes handset. This is in the 36mm size. This watch does everything with me, mows the lawn with me, it comes to work. I don't worry about knocking it. I love this watch. This is a pure tool watch. My only one true dressy type watch I own, and it's the Junghans Max Biel automatic 38mm. Its minimalist design is superb. Look how thin the case is. For an automatic movement, that's sensational. But this is my dressier watch. I keep it on the same leather strap that it came with. I'm going to get some more straps and really play with this bad boy. Already done a review on this. Check the card above for the full review of it. Last but not least, my Grail watch, my Rolex 214270 39mm case. If you see in my review of this watch a couple of weeks ago and the review of my granddad's watch, you'll know that this Explorer dial has been in the family for a long time. Its simplicity and design is just superb. I was fortunate enough to have enough money to buy this. I bought the Smith's Everest at the start of 2 years ago, and I put my name down for one of these, not expecting to get a call for a long time, having heard about the waiting list being ridiculous, but I got the call within 2 weeks. And I just take a big deep breath and a gulp, and I went straight down to that authorized dealer and stuck it on my wrist, and it was love at first sight. This watch will stay with me forever. I absolutely adore this thing and I wish I could wear it more. Bracelet is spectacular. The feel of this thing is like nothing else that I own. Obviously the price of it is like nothing else I own either. I call this watch the George after my late granddad, who owned and wore a 60s Rolex Explorer. It's at this point he realised he had a problem. Quite a few watches there when you lay it out on the table, isn't it, huh? Back to the studio. So there you have it. That's my watch collection. Who knows what's going to happen in 2021, but I guarantee I'll do a state of the collection then. Will the collection change? Will I sell any? Depends how hard up I am. In the description below, I've given you links to all watches you can purchase brand new from the collection.
Short-term goals.
Well, I am really interested still in the SEIKO Alpinist, the Saab 017. I'd love a green dial, and this watch has the best sunburst one you can get with those gold indices. I'm a bit of a Rolex Explorer fan, as you can tell, but this was SEIKO's Explorer. I love the inner rotating bezel, and the 39mm case is going to suit me beautifully. Mid-term goals. Well, I have lusted after a SIN watch for a very long time, particularly a SIN 104A. Just over 40mm diameter, but that short lug tip to lug tip. I've not handled one before, and it's something I really want. Probably will look on the used market, not brand new.
Grail.
My 3 watch grails are the Explorer, which I've got, and the other 2 are the Omega Speedmaster Reduced, the slightly smaller automatic version of the Speedmaster Professional. Just that smaller case will suit my small wrist that much better, but what I'm really lusting after is a Tudor Black Bay 58. The size of the case, the thickness, the in-house movement. It definitely is a long-term purchase, and it'll be a new one. And when you spend that kind of money, I kind of like the AD's security and protection. We've come to the end of the show. If you've liked what you've seen, click like and subscribe if you haven't at the same time. The next milestone for this channel is to get to 500 subscribers. Can we do it? Will we do it? Should we do it? All that's left to say is don't be scared of asking any questions, and I'll see you in the next one.
Don't return your smile.